IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, it's a condition that primarily affects the bowel and the digestive system. So it has symptoms such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, gas, all that kind of thing. But also some of the symptoms that people might not be as familiar with include things like tiredness and exhaustion, headaches, backaches, and also kind of the mental side of things as well, so anxiety and depression. It's a common condition, but people don't often, or not everyone feels that they're able to speak about it because it still has a bit of a stigma. I have had IBS for as long as I can remember, symptoms right through my childhood, but it was actually in my teenage years when my symptoms were put down to being irritable bowel syndrome. I'm speaking this month, sharing my experiences because it's National IBS Awareness Month, and the IBS Network, which is the national charity, which is based here in Yorkshire in Sheffield. They're encouraging people to talk about the condition, and one of the main reasons that they're doing that is because it can be quite an isolating condition. It can be quite embarrassing for people to feel like they're able to talk about their symptoms, and the symptoms themselves can be quite debilitating on daily life. There is times when my symptoms are so severe that there's very little that I can do other than stay at home. For me, one of the things that I struggle with most is the unpredictability of the symptoms, so never quite knowing when I'm going to get a flare-up, and that makes a lot of things difficult really, because you're always kind of worrying about whether you're going to be ill, if you're going to be at someone else's house, if you're going to be out and about in public, if you're going to be at work. It can all be quite difficult in that sense, but the things that I do to kind of manage that and help plan and prepare for that is I never leave the house without water, tablets. I've got an IBS can't wait card which you can get through the IBS network, and that helps you get access to toilets when you're out and about. The other things that I'll do is if I'm going somewhere that I don't know, I will do a lot of research before I go and do what they call kind of toilet mapping, which is where you work out where all the nearest facilities are. Anxiety and stress is one of the things that can bring on symptoms that can trigger flare-ups, and so when you're in kind of a cycle of being worried about being poorly, that can actually bring on, make the condition worse, and then that can bring about more worry. So sometimes it can be quite difficult to break that cycle. There's no cure for IBS, so to speak, and the symptoms affect everybody in different ways. So it can be quite it can take quite a lot of time to figure out what the best way to manage it is for you. So there's various things that you can do to alleviate the symptoms, whether that be medication, so things like Imodium for the diarrhea, for example, or whether that's kind of relaxation techniques to help deal with the anxiety side of things. And a lot of people find it helpful to do a food diary as well, so that they can try and work out if there's certain foods that have a greater impact, and then look to kind of reduce or eliminate those foods. But there's no kind of one fix all type thing. The more that we talk about it, as we are in IBS Awareness Month, the more that that raises awareness and hopefully reduces some of the stigma. Seek support if you need to. I mean, there's loads of support groups out there through the IBS network, in various different areas of the country. The IBS network also has loads of resources on its website, and just keep going with trying to find a management technique that suits you the best. Unfortunately, as we've said, there is no cure, and you are going to suffer symptoms and keep suffering symptoms, but the more that you kind of understand about your own IBS and how it affects you specifically, the more that you can look at ways of managing it that work for you.